Okay, welcome back. Lee Durario, Arc of Future, your friendly neighborhood architect, 845-351-2600. Here today with, go ahead, Mike.
I'm Mike Ash. I'm a supplier of kitchen cabinets and more, and you can always reach me at 914-525-8100.
Earl Slick, American Design and Build, 845-283-6763.
Well, folks, we're going to be wrapping up today with the selection of the architect. We went through the process of how to qualify the architect and what you need to look for. Then we went through the preliminary design process of how to lay out your second floor addition or your basement addition or whatever addition you're looking to do. Then we went to the process of working drawings, which is the next phase of documentation that's needed to file for a building permit to get your project rolling along.
Permit.
Now we have some fun. The building departments. They know Lee Durario at these building departments up here and out there in northern New Jersey, because we've done many projects in these areas. The problem that you might have when you go to file for these applications, that most of the times will arise if you're doing any sort of an addition, is this thing called floor area ratio. And I'm not going to get specific on it, but what it basically entails is nowadays the building departments and the local zoning and planning offices have decided that the density in certain areas has become critical, and if you're going to be adding on to your building, your house, they are only allowing a certain percentage of your lot, okay, of your square footage of the land underneath the building to be built. And from that point forward, you need something that's called a variance. So part of the process up front at the beginning that we do at American Design and Build, and that I work and do with American Design and Build, is a screening for the zoning information prior to the start of the project. So again, we never mentioned that at the beginning, but one of the things is called an investigation, which we like to do before we even start any process, and that is to go to the building department in your area and check the local zoning requirements prior to the start of any design work. And we didn't want to leave that out. That's very important. Most guys do leave that out. And a good architect, a competent architect, will advise you to get a survey of your property, okay, and let's find out and make sure we're in compliance with all the zoning before we even start designing this project. So going back a few steps, that would be the first thing. It's called an investigation, and you should ask any architect who's coming out to look at your project to do this investigation for you, or you as the homeowner, if you feel savvy enough, can get out there with your survey, go speak with the building inspector in your municipality and ask him the particulars about what you're looking to do, and he will give you something that's called a bulk chart, and that gives you your front setbacks, your sides, all the setbacks around the building that are required by law, plus the coverage areas and so forth that you need to comply. If there's anything that is outside of those limits, you need to go for something that's called a variance. And most people don't want to go through that process unless it's really necessary. So part of the design...
Is that a lengthy process?
That's lengthy, and it's money, and it's aggravation,
yeah.
and if you have a neighbor who really doesn't like you, you may not get through. So
I just wanted to just tickle that a little bit.
Right. So what we at American Design and Build try and we propose is that if we see there is a zoning conflict and that there's going to be an issue, we can suggest alternative designs that will meet the criteria of the zoning and hopefully meet your design criteria so that you don't have to go through that 3 to 6 month appeal process and public hearings and so forth.
That's nice to hear up front, though, right away.
Right. So this isn't a thing that I had it on my list here. It was covered underneath a bunch of papers, but I wanted to bring that up before we got into filing for the building permit, because, as I said before, I have been brought into some of these building projects where they have gone to another architect, they have gotten plans, they have their survey prepared, they file it, and they throw the plans back at them and say there is no zoning information on these plans. And they don't understand what that means because most homeowners are not familiar with this stuff. So the question becomes, who is responsible for that? Sometimes the engineer who does the site work is, sometimes the architect. But in my book, the architect is always responsible for checking the zoning information and enlightening the client to the situation that they might create by the new design and giving them an alternative choice if perhaps they don't want to move ahead with the variance. Some people will go for the variance because they want the house to look a certain way and they want the square footage and they have what's called a hardship and they can move forward on that. But most people prefer to eliminate that process and work within the parameters of the zoning in their area.
Well, knowing up front what the situation is, you can make a choice.
That's right.
Having
That's
the
right.
option.
Having the option and always leaving right. That, again, is what American Design and Build is doing, having the technical skill and experience to be able to give you all the information you need.